Today we are trying to fix my very cheap Fortnite build, my sub $500 build. I have a graphics card in the computer that some of you viewers out there told me was running extremely hot in my latest video. I built a computer where everything in it is new, except for the graphics card, which is a 1070 GTX, which is a really good graphics card. But in my case, the graphics card was running really hot. I decided to follow your instructions and repaste the graphics card. In this video, I'll show you how to repaste the graphics card, and then we're going to check if that worked and now if I have a working $500 PC. I can say already that the repaste was successful, but there's something else wrong. But stay tuned in the video to find out what. Now let's go over the repasting. The first thing you need to do is just to take out your graphics card from your computer and disassemble the graphics card. Now make sure that you save all the tiny screws in a way so that you know which screws goes where when you are disassembling the graphics card. See, it's kind of simple to do this process, at least for older graphics card like this. This is an 8.5, almost 9-year-old graphics card. So I took it apart, unscrew all the screws and took it apart. See, the thing here is that you can take off this cover, which I just decided to do later. I used an alcohol cleaner to take away all of the old cooling paste, which did a fine job. I tried not to use too much of it to make sure it didn't get too wet. I don't know how the components and the alcohol thing is working together, so I used as little as possible. I wiped it off and I used a tiny brush. I don't know what it's called in English. I'm sorry, my English is the first language, but I used one of these tiny ear things to take away all of this old cooling paste. I simply applied some new, and I could see that from the old cooling paste it was like all over the side, so I just made sure that I put on enough of this cooling paste. Then it was time to assemble the thing again, and when you are screwing in all of these screws, make sure to not tighten one of the screws immediately, but to go over each screw like a little bit of the time, and just tighten it more and more and more every time you go to each of these screws. As you can see here in the video, it is kind of simple. I think it took me about 10 or 20 minutes, maybe 30. Time goes fast when you are doing like this. It's like building Legos for me. It's kind of fun, but it's also like just something you can enjoy if you enjoy that kind of stuff. I'm not a pro, so if you out there have anything I probably did wrong, you can leave it in the comments below, but it was kind of easy. Now it's time to test it, so I put it back in the computer and I fired the computer up and I fired up Fortnite. Let's see how the test is going. If you look at the top, you can see the numbers and the temperature keeps rising. I know this case has good airflow. It's simply not the case fault, so I'm trying to check. I'm looking in the case to see what's wrong. At this point, I noticed that the fans are not running on the GPU. So I had to go out of Fortnite and install a fan control. Easy, just use the software called fan control to see if it can even detect the fans. And to my surprise, fan control ended up not being able to detect any of these fans. So since I did all the testing the first time, I took out my graphics card again because I realized that the fans weren't spinning. But what made them not spin wasn't something I did wrong in the repasting. It was just actually that a tiny bit of resistance, a little cable underneath, just went in the way and made sure that the fans wouldn't spin. So I just had to reseat the cables and move some things around, and then I tried again. Now look at this performance. The temperatures are sitting at about 50 or 60 degrees all the time, and it's not rising. See, the problem I realized before is that it kept rising, and now I can even hear the fan spinning. So this 8.5-year-old graphic card really does some wonders again in this Fortnite PC, and repasting the graphics card and then reseating so that the fans made sure that the fans would work, made sure that this $500 computer is good to go to play Fortnite. If you want to see me building the computer, then watch this video, otherwise consider subscribing.